Welcome to the first of two shows reviewing the 2003 F1 season. We'll look at the first half of what would be a classic year of Grand Prix racing, with both McLaren and Williams bringing the fight to Ferrari.
Anything can happen. And here we are, we're back, and we never give up.
F1 2003 is greeted to a good old Aussie welcome at the season opener in Melbourne. On top of the traditional new season intrigue, this year sees the most radical shake-up of the rules since 1997. Many say they will halt this man's charge, but unpredictability is the only certainty. Qualifying is now a two-day, one-lap shootout. Championship leader is first out on track on Friday. The slowest car then runs first on Saturday, fastest car last. These times decide grid positions for the race. No changes to setup can be made after Saturday qualifying. Teams have no access to the cars until Sunday morning, with strict limitations on what they can do. Specialised qualifying engines can no longer be used. Fuel strategies are decided prior to Saturday qualifying, as no more fuel can be added before the race start.
Everybody knows if the circuit was a two-pit stop or one-pit stop. Everybody expects a lap at 21 or 22, everybody change a tire and refueling. Now I think it's a little bit different to predict what happens. And this is part of our event, it's part of the television show. I think it's better.
The fact that you have to run with a certain amount of fuel and the qualifying is already a part of the race, let's say it's the first lap of the race, is going to change quite a lot the approach of the whole weekend from the drivers. So, as you know, you cannot touch the car, you cannot refuel it. And on one side, we probably will gain in terms of people watching on TV. But on the other hand, we have lost the real qualifying, the real challenge between the drivers.
I think it's fantastic. I think we're going to see some really close racing, and that's what this was all about. It was bringing Formula 1 back to the people and giving them some good, solid racing.
Revitalising the spectacle for the fans, improving safety, and reducing costs for the teams are major factors behind the radical overhaul. Team orders are deemed unsporting and are not permitted. The head and neck safety system is now compulsory for all drivers. The top 8 finishers will now receive points. Teams can no longer use expensive technology to make adjustments to the cars from the garage. The 2-hour session on Friday morning is used only by those teams that have opted for restricted season testing. Teams can only bring one set of wet weather tyres to a Grand Prix. Instead of full wets and intermediates, they must choose one or the other.
For sure, the costs had to be addressed, because you can't just wait till it's all gone to pot for the private manufacturers like ourselves, the smaller teams, and then suddenly say, oh, we should have done this or we should have done that. There is a concern that the major manufacturers, if it gets below 20 cars, that there would be an obligation on everyone else to provide more than 2 cars. If these rules hadn't been changed going into this year, particularly in terms of the costs, then I would have feared for the survival of teams like myself.
Veteran Jos Verstappen returns to F1 with Minardi, where survival of the fittest often means some exploitation of the rules. Rookie teammate Justin Wilson was slowest in Friday qualifying and therefore first out on Saturday. Both drivers aborted their qualifying laps, opting to start from the pit lane, allowing the team to work on their cars overnight. Fastest man on Friday was Rubens Barrichello. His time on Saturday makes it an all-Ferrari front row. But Kimi Raikkinen is the first victim of the new regulations. One small error is all it takes. He will start the race from 15th, not the way McLaren intended to kick off their 2003 championship campaign.
No? Too slow. This what?
I had a couple of mistakes on this one.
Did you? It's all right. You're only human.
Yeah.
What's it like driving a car in qualifying with lots of fuel on board and race brakes and so forth?
It's a bit strange, you know, like the first few break-ins to get the hit into the brakes, you really get to stand on it. You know, you stand on the brakes and your ass just comes off the ground and everything, all the pressure you're putting.
So much for putting the brakes on this man.
You complained so much, the media, that obviously somebody felt something had to be done. So now you have to live with the result.
He's looking to start the season as he finished in 2002, but top grid spot does not guarantee top podium step. As everyone wonders about possible strategies, there's a real air of unpredictability. And there's a threat of rain. Bridgestone runners are using an intermediate tyre, while those on Michelin's have a shallow wet, which is in between a wet and an intermediate tyre. F1 moves into unknown territory, and Kimi Raikkinen dives into the pits for fuel and dry tyres at the end of the formation lap. It could prove an inspired decision. Rubens is a little too keen to get going and could pay for that later. But it's too late now. F1 2003 is off. Panis makes a good start for Toyota and wrestles Montoya. But his Michelin dry tyres have not reached optimum temperature yet, sending him backwards down the field. The lightly fueled Saubers dispose of him quickly, followed by Button, Villeneuve, Trulli and Alonso. Coulthard is next to overhaul Olivier. The F2002 maintains its dominance. At the end of lap 1, the Ferraris lead by nearly 6 seconds. But Montoya is on the move. The risk of rain is diminishing and dry tyres are the way to go. DC is quick to respond. Barrichello's start line error finally catches up with him and he gets a drive-through penalty. He's on a hot lap, but a heavy slide into the barriers cools his charge before he even gets to the pits. A momentary loss of control and he's out of the race. There's no time for recriminations. Michael Schumacher pits. He should have changed tyres earlier. Montoya has been blisteringly quick, while Michael's intermediates have just been blistering. The troublesome wheel plays into the hands of Juan Pablo. Offs from De Mata and Furman keep the mechanics busy, while the safety car comes out. Montoya leads Alonso, Trulli, Ralph, Webber, Raikkonen, Michael and Coulthard. On the restart, Mark Webber loses fourth almost immediately to Raikkonen. Williams hope their chassis can maximise their BMW engine this year as Ralph closes on the top 3. Webber was eager to equal last year's excellent 6th place, but suspension failure ends his Jaguar debut prematurely, bringing out the safety car again and more pit lane action. Montoya takes on new tyres while his teammate has to queue up behind. Ralph and Trulli are battling for position, but pit stops haven't favoured the Schumacher brothers today. Ralph is halted by his right rear wheel. By the time he gets out, Trulli is long gone, but it's not Jarno's Renault he has to worry about. Ralph exits the pit lane into the path of Alonso and loses the back of the car, forcing Fernando to take avoiding action. With Webber's car now clear, Raikkonen streaks ahead. Villeneuve is fourth, but he has Button, Panis and Montoya waiting to pounce. Now it's Ralph's turn to take evasive action when Heidfeld's out-of-control Sauber crosses his path. Michael started on the wrong tyres, but he can scent victory and starts pushing Raikkonen, keeping the gap under a second. Never mind one-shot qualifying, the guns are blazing at BAR. Villeneuve apparently suffered radio problems and pitted a lap late, forcing new teammate Jenson Button to queue behind. No such problems at McLaren. Raikkonen pits from first, shortly after Michael. Montoya now leads. Third place Michael is in the zone, while second place Kimi struggles to get to grips with new tyres. Memories of France 2002 are not far away. Michael tries to go around the outside. But Kimi is having none of it and forces him onto the grass. Michael's lost momentum, but it's irrelevant now. Kimi loses his lead for being 1 km/h over the pit lane speed limit. A drive-through penalty drops him to 8th. Montoya pits for fuel only and is very quick on the gas. Now Michael leads, but it's all falling apart. The Ferrari is losing its barge boards. The rules stipulate that he must stop for safety checks, or he could be disqualified. He's no longer trailing any debris, but his car needs a once-over and a bit more fuel. No one predicted this. Montoya looks set for his second race win, if he can keep a resurgent Coulthard behind. But a 360-degree spin is not the way to restrain DC. Coulthard's debut win was here in 1997. It's been a remarkably low-key rise to first after qualifying only 11th. Juan Pablo has his work cut out keeping second. Raikkonen and an aerodynamically challenged Schumacher are still in his mirrors. It's a tense time for the McLaren mechanics. If Kimi can get close enough to Juan, it could be a McLaren 1-2. But there are not enough laps left. Coulthard wins his 13th Grand Prix, his second in Melbourne. Even without his barge boards, Michael tries a last-ditch effort on the pit straight, but Kimi holds on to third. With a disintegrating car, the wrong tyres, and perhaps the wrong fuel strategy, he still finished fourth. Coulthard kicks off his championship assault in the best way possible, and that's without the new McLaren. Heinz-Harald Frentzen does well to net sixth, while Fernando Alonso and Ralf Schumacher benefit from the new scoring system. Australia marks Michelin's first monopoly of the podium since the company's return to F1 in 2001. But Montoya threw away the race win in the closing stages. He was leading when he had this spin. Where did he lay the blame?
I don't blame anybody but myself. I'm pretty good at that. And I've always been pretty hard on myself. I think best comment was Patrick after the race said, put some really hard shoes, a pillow against the wall and kick it as hard as you can and get it out of your system and let's go to the next one.
Malaysia presents an exotic blend of modernity and tradition. Sepang hosts the second round of the championship, and monsoon weather is par for the course. Once the rain had cleared, it was the sound of V10 engines that filled the air on Friday morning. But not all cars were out on track. Renault, Minardi, Jordan and Jaguar have opted to restrict their testing to 10 days during the year and gain 2 hours running on the Friday of each Grand Prix. Teams can use a third driver for this session. How important is this extra time?
Renault decided to do the Friday morning testing agreement, and I take place, I drive the third car there, and I think it hopefully will give us the edge by having information directly for that race weekend, not something that's speculative for the future.
They certainly had the edge on Saturday. Alonso became the youngest driver and the first Spaniard to secure pole position. There was nothing the big guns could do about it. It's the first all-Renault front row since Prost and Chiva at the 1983 French Grand Prix. Jacques Villeneuve is in trouble as the formation lap gets underway. His car stalls and he's forced to run down the longest pit lane in Formula 1, only to be told to go back to his race car. It's an embarrassing moment for Fisichella. What's wrong? When he repeats his 2001 Malaysian Grand Prix mistake by taking the wrong grid spot. Despite all the chaos, Alonso keeps his head and makes a perfect start, as does David Coulthard. Michael Schumacher relishes a good battle, but this isn't what he will have had in mind. Too preoccupied with Coulthard, he slides into Trulli, nearly taking Barrichello with him. Montoya brakes to avoid the scrap, but is hit by an airborne Pitsonia and loses his rear wing. There's chaos behind.
Pit stop, could be a stop. Come on, out of the way, out of the way.
Trulli survives, but once again, Juan Pablo is a victim of fate in Sepang. Alonso increases his lead over championship leader Coulthard and third place Nick Heidfeld, while Montoya loses 1.5 laps, having his rear wing changed. There's no repeat of Melbourne for DC. He retires with an electrical problem after only 3 laps. Even Michael Schumacher can't escape the scrutiny of the stewards. He gets a drive-through penalty for causing an avoidable accident with Trulli. The scrap for third continues. Heidfeld qualified 6th, but the Ferrari-powered Sauber can't hold off a charging Rubens for long. It's been a strong drive in 5th, but Panis retires following his first pit stop with a fuel pressure problem. Heidfeld is delayed by fuel evaporation. But Alonso has no such concerns. Trulli drove a Jordan for 2 years. Now he gets a chance to follow one. He's not impressed, but he will have to fight. He's racing Furman for 7th. Jarno makes a move, but lets frustration get in the way and runs wide. Ralph keeps his head and his position. Schumacher's scheduled stop drops him out of the points. He famously doesn't sweat, but even he's feeling the heat, battling through the field. The Renault mechanics manhandle Trulli's car because he's disengaged his pit lane speed limiter, which controls the fuel flap. He drops to 6th behind Button. It's all falling into place for Barrichello. Some quick outlaps cement 2nd place. But he can't get near Raikkonen. Kimi was so far ahead before his 2nd pit stop that he maintains the lead with a 20-second advantage. A hot-headed Trulli sets out to catch former teammate Button, but spinning just leaves him open to attack from Schumacher. Michael, however, has to settle for 7th. It nearly happened in France last year, but better late than never. Kimi Raikkinen takes his maiden F1 victory half a minute ahead of the rest of the field. It's a feat that seems to leave Ron Dennis shedding tears. Button suffers rotten luck again and is displaced by Trulli and Schumacher on the last lap. It's the 2nd year running the Ferrari has outstripped him in the closing stages. Teammate Barrichello is 2nd, and Alonso is the first Spaniard on the podium since 1956. Button and Heidfeld score their first points, while Furman runs out of fuel and is beaten by Frentzen, but it's a well-deserved win for Raikkonen.
The guys on the pit stop made a really good job on the engine, everything. It was whole package was great. We have put so much effort over the winter that is paying off now, and it's good for it's good for all of us.
And great for the championship. Alonso has as many points as Schumacher, and it's McLaren's best start since 1998. But the clouds in Brazil are gathering for Williams. Their new car has yet to deliver. This time last year, Ralph had 1 race win under his belt, and the team led the championship by 8 points. By contrast, Ron Dennis has witnessed his team take back-to-back wins using last year's car. The drivers have every reason to be laughing.
Okay, thanks.
Their success comes at the expense of Ferrari, who are yet to introduce the F2003.
we've reminded the guys, we sat down and talked about it, reminded the guys about 97, 98, 99, those years where we had to fight very hard for every race we won, and perhaps that's one of those years, and we all know we can do it. We just need to remind ourselves what it was like and make sure we do it again.
The Tifosi have faith in the team, particularly with one driver. And he doesn't disappoint. A Brazilian has won his home Grand Prix in 1973, 83 and 93. Can Rubens maximise pole position and win in 2003? Torrential rain postpones the start of the race. The change in the tyre regulations means that all teams are without a full wet tyre, so the race is started from behind the safety car. Grid order is preserved, but Rubens tries to give himself the best chance of retaining his lead, while Fisichella stops to add fuel. So it's a rolling start, but Barrichello has slowed them too much. Coulthard sees an opportunity and makes his move. They're wheel to wheel, but DC calmly takes the lead. Now Raikkonen is ready to pounce on third-placed Webber. Kimi gets ahead and starts closing on Rubens. The improved Michelin shallow wet tyres are really working well. Barrichello is no match for Raikkonen. Now, a few seconds later, Montoya's having a go after scything his way through the field. A driver's biggest rival might be his teammate, but McLaren can only hold their breath when they see Raikkonen hounding Coulthard. Kimi gets ahead and shows why he is the man to take on Schumacher. Trying to curtail his teammate has left second-place DC offline and in Montoya's clutches. Kimi and Juan Pablo are both surrounded by hype, driving for top teams. They have one Grand Prix win apiece and now go head-to-head on track. Michael Schumacher's rise to 6th was aided by his brother's run in with Trulli. Now he seizes 5th from Rubens. The track is drying out, and Juan Pablo finds out exactly how his tyres are handling the situation as Coulthard breezes past for second. Unseen by the cameras, Webber loses 4th to Michael. Not one for staring at drivers' rear wings, Schumacher makes light work of Juan for 3rd. Justin Wilson is the first driver to fall foul of a river at turn 3. While front right suspension failure sends Ralph Furman's Jordan careering into the unsuspecting Panis in a terrifying incident. The ensuing safety car creates a hive of activity in the pit lane. Can Ferrari's slick handiwork get their main man out ahead of Coulthard? Not this time around. Now Barrichello is in. Most of the teams have a quick turnaround, but Ferrari, Williams and Renault are lucky to get away with this. Could this be a huge tactical error for Kimi? The safety car obliterates his lead, and his two nearest rivals have already made their stops. Never mind wet weather tyres, water skis might be better. Montoya and Pizzonia both aquaplane into the barriers. Not even world champions are safe. Schumacher spins off under waved yellow flags into his first retirement since Germany 2001. Realising his precarious position, he hot-foots it out of his car and behind the barriers. The recovery crane is clearly a hazard, and the safety car makes another visit while the wreckage is removed. McLaren used this lull to make amends for Kimi. His pit stop leaves him 9th. Barrichello is back in the action and up to 2nd behind Coulthard when the race restarts. Ralph has fought his way through, and contrary to popular belief, there was fuel in Webber's Jaguar, which proves they genuinely have a fast car this weekend. But Minardi's fortunes remain the same. Verstappen is a victim of the now infamous water feature. Button joins one of the world's most expensive car parks. he was fueled to the end of the race. Who knows where he could have finished? The safety car driver is really earning his wage today. Lap 42, and Barrichello is right up there with Coulthard. The gap is under 0.3 of a second. But DC still gets a better run into turn 1, just like at the start of the race. Alonso hasn't been paying attention to the flags. He passed Webber under waved yellows and is duly given a drive-through penalty. Webber succumbs to turn 3, but manages to catch his car and rejoin. This time around, it's Coulthard who misjudges turn 1, and Rubens doesn't need to be asked twice. To the home crowd's delight, he takes the lead. Barrichello is showing how fast last year's Ferrari still is, and extends his lead from Coulthard. But his jinx at Interlagos is never far away. A fuel feed problem, not helped by his misfiring engine earlier in the race, forces him onto the sidelines. We haven't seen this for a while. Nürburgring 1999 was the last time that neither Ferrari finished a Grand Prix. DC's only interested in the present and finds himself back in the lead with 24 laps remaining, while Rubens rues his bad luck. Ralph has had a quiet race and pits from 4th. Fisichella has been helped by his early stop for fuel, and now he has second place Kimi in his sights. But the closest fought battle is between Trulli, Frentzen and Villeneuve for 5th. DC's scheduled stop from 1st demotes him to 4th, behind Alonso. Fisichella is pushing hard. This mistake from Kimi lets Fisichella take the lead. The incident pack race continues as Webber has a horrifying crash before the pit straight. He's lucky to escape unhurt, but there's debris everywhere. The safety car will have to come out again. Fisichella starts the 56th lap, while Kimi ducks into the pits. But believing the accident was behind him, Alonso chooses to ignore the waved yellow flags again. This is the result. Yellow flags soon turn to red. The race has ended, and all eyes turn to Alonso. He is shaken, but suffers no major injuries. It looks like the race stopped at the right time for Fisichella. But who is the winner? To the delight of the whole Jordan team, Giancarlo Fisichella takes his debut F1 win after more than 100 races. Or does he? Everyone waits for the decision, while Coulthard laments his pit stop on lap 52. The stewards hand victory to Raikkonen, making it 3 wins in a row for McLaren. Jordan have just 3 since 1990. Ron Dennis may be beaming, but Eddie's face says it all.
The best moment in my life after when my children were born. It was fantastic, amazing, but unfortunately was not more than two minutes. Anyway, it's been a good result for us. We didn't believe to get on the podium today.
São Paulo certainly put on a sensational Grand Prix. McLaren top both tables with 1st and 4th. Alonso's classified 3rd, while Frentzen and Villeneuve boost their points tally. Jordan and Jaguar get their seasons underway, but Ferrari fail to score. Following an FIA investigation, Jordan arrived in Imola, victors of the Brazilian Grand Prix. The rule states that once a race is stopped after 3/4 distance, the race positions 2 laps prior to the red flag form the final result. On lap 54, Fisichella was leading the race and had started lap 56 when the red flag was waved. Therefore, he was declared the winner and finally got his hands on the winner's trophy. But how did Giancarlo find out he'd won?
I was very nervous. It was around 12 o'clock in the morning, and I was waiting. Eddie's answer, and then around 12:15 he called me and he said straight away, "Giancarlo, you are the winner." So it was fantastic.
He's like a new boy, you know. He's in his own country, first time, an Italian winner for 11 years, coming to Imola's home track. It's like as if all his prayers have been answered in one go.
The result puts Giancarlo fourth in the Drivers' Championship, ahead of Montoya, Barrichello and both Schumachers. A good haul of points ensures McLaren and Renault lead the Constructors' title, and Jordan lie fifth. The magic at Brazil couldn't transfer to Imola for Fisichella, who lines up 17th. Schumacher answers those who say he's lost his edge by starting P1 next to brother Ralph, but triumph is marred by tragedy. In the early hours of Sunday morning, the mother of Ralph and Michael Schumacher passed away. Her sons prove they are both true racers by electing to take the start. Ralph gets a cracking start, but Webber has launch control problems and ruins both his and Villeneuve's qualifying performances. The Jaguars' loss of momentum eases Raikkonen up to fifth, while Pizzonia gets a helping hand. At the end of the lap, Ralph leads Michael, Barrichello, Montoya and Raikkonen. Ralph scored his maiden Formula 1 victory here in 2001. Can this spur him to the top step of the podium once again? He's holding up the two Ferraris, and overtaking at Imola is not easy. Pit stops will be crucial. Ralph comes in shortly. He struggles to select a gear, allowing his brother to take the lead easily. Pit stops and Williams are proving problematic this year. Fourth place Montoya overshoots the mark, sending his Jackman flying and delaying proceedings. A slow to secure front right wheel relegates him to sixth. The leader makes his stop, indicating he's also free-stopping. He got the hammer down when Ralph pitted, and it pays off when it matters most. He rejoins third, ahead of his brother, and behind the two stopping McLarens. Villeneuve's two-stop strategy should have put him in a point-scoring position, but fire at his pit stop caused terminal damage to his car, forcing him to retire at the end of the pit straight. Webber's day gets worse. He was too quick on the throttle at his first pit stop and gets a drive-through penalty. Raikkonen has been leading, but his first stop leaves him fourth. His strategy could see him claw his way back to the front later in the race. Montoya gets it right at his second stop, but now the fuel rig refuses to work correctly and he'll have to stop again. Williams' pit stops get even more farcical. Michael is making his way through the back markers, but nearly gets his nose cut off lapping D'Amata. Michael is not impressed. A canny two-stop strategy from McLaren springboards Kimi to second. Both Michael and Raikkonen will have to stop again. Michael knows this and keeps pushing hard. Championship leader Kimi pits for the final time, opting for scrubbed tyres. By the time Michael makes his third stop, he's built up enough of a lead to rejoin first, just ahead of Barrichello. Schumacher has a full tank of fuel and knows that his teammate's on a fantastic in-lap and dutifully gets out of the way. Rubens pits from first. Unbelievable! There's a problem with his left front wheel. His energetic in-lap is wasted, diminishing any hopes of retaining third. The pit stop problem means that Rubens will have it all to do on the circuit, but gives the crowd some much sought-after on-track action. He's made up the time, and after several desperate attempts, Barrichello gets the better of Ralph to snatch third. Fisikella's engine blows. It's back to reality for Jordan. And winning ways for Michael Schumacher. He marks a return to form, putting aside his personal tragedy to take his first win of the season. Michael's grip on the race has been as good as the F2002's grip on the track, ensuring a fitting send-off to one of the most successful cars in history. Michael channels his emotions into driving fast, very fast. Brother Ralph is a strong fourth, Raikkonen kept Barrichello at bay, and Jenson Button takes the final point. It's the first Ferrari podium of the season, but proceedings remain dignified as a mark of respect. Barcelona has one of the greatest concentrations of Art Nouveau architecture in the world, but there is a new showpiece being unveiled this weekend. The Spanish Grand Prix provides the much-anticipated first outing of the new Ferrari F2003 GA, named in honour of former Fiat chairman Gianni Agnelli. Rubens can't take his eyes off it. Michael's speechless, and the team feel it's their best yet. But is an improvement on last year's car possible?
The new car is lighter, it's got a lower centre of gravity, it's stiffer, and it's got the biggest improvement in aerodynamic performance of any of the cars we've made from one year to the next. So, yeah, in one way it's simple, but it's very complicated to make that progress, and it comes about as a result of a stable environment, a stable team, and a lot of very talented people.
Does the prospect of a faster Ferrari worry the opposition?
Come out on a test day, you would be watching a little bit more how it looks, but ultimately we need to see what the performance is in race trim to really know how much better the car is.
We're fairly confident we've seen half a second at most tracks we've tested, sometimes more, but about half a second a lap.
The rise of Fernando Alonso has brought Formula 1 to the Spanish people. This kind of showing is usually reserved for footballing icons like Roberto Carlos. Since 1992, the pole sitter in Spain has won the championship, but the all-Renault second row poses a major threat to the Ferraris at the front. Renault launch control proves impeccable as Alonso gets right in with the Ferraris. But Barrichello gathers momentum and pushes Schumacher to the limit. Alonso keeps his cool while Trulli and Coulthard lose theirs. And thanks to Pizzonia's faulty electronics, Raikkonen is out of the race. Starting from the back is always a risky business, but forget launch control, Kimi must have pressed self-destruct. The safety car comes out while the debris is cleared. Trulli could have had a podium finish, and now he's furious, while Kimi can't quite believe it. The race restarts. Michael leads Barrichello, Alonso and Ralph. Wheels locked, tyres screeching, Juan Pablo zips past Button for fifth. Barrichello's crusade to keep Fernando back allows Michael to eke out more of an advantage. As his fuel burns off, Alonso can really put Rubens under pressure. He can't get ahead, and Michael is stretching his lead, but the pit stops could change all that. Alonso's stop is very quick. He rejoins fifth and has clear track ahead. If he can set some handy lap times, he may be able to leapfrog Rubens. But Coulthard's incident-packed race is over. A tangle with Button leaves him in the gravel and forces Jenson into the pits. Schumacher's stop temporarily elevated Rubens to first. Now it's down to the Ferrari mechanics to keep Barrichello ahead of the local boy. Ferrari are marginally quicker, but is it enough? Fantastic! Alonso takes second place easily. Now it's Rubens who must go on the attack. He's no longer got Barrichello as a safety net, so Michael makes use of the back markers and puts his foot to the floor. The leaders may have just lapped them, but Furman gets an important psychological boost and passes his teammate for 13th. Most teams opt for 3 stops as tyre wear is particularly severe. Michael makes his second and rejoins 4th behind his brother. The Williams is 2-stopping because of the earlier safety car period and is not what Michael needed in front of him. Michael piles the pressure on and seizes his chance. Fortunately for him, Alonso rejoined from his stop behind Ralf Furman, giving the Ferrari some breathing space to build up a lead again. The Jordan proves tough to pass, even though he's being lapped. For all the smiles and youthful charm, there's a fierce fighter in Alonso. He could win this race, and he knows it. It's not been easy, but he's kept up the pressure. And now he finally gets ahead of Ralf Schumacher, who decides to make some changes to the circuit. Montoya has been pretty quiet since his manoeuvre on Button. Now he puts the pressure on his teammate. Another lockup leaves Ralf vulnerable, and Juan Pablo picks up the rewards. D'Amata pits from a brilliant 4th place. It relegates him to 6th behind Ralf Schumacher. The Toyota is working well for Cristiano as he starts to close on the Williams. He's sticking to Ralf like glue. When Ralf makes a mistake, he nearly gets ahead. The new Ferrari sets the standard, but hasn't been as dominant as many of their rivals feared. For the last 5 years, the new Ferrari has won on its debut. But the hero of the day has to be Fernando Alonso. He moves up to 3rd in the title race. In Spain, motorsport usually means bikes, but today F1 has made its mark, thanks to Alonso's best ever finish. Schumacher has been in the top 6 at every attempt here in Barcelona, and now is only 4 points short of Raikkonen. 2003 rookies D'Amata and Furman scored their first F1 points. It's not just the locals who are impressed by Alonso.
I rate him very good as a race driver. He's a nice person, play soccer together, and I really get on well with him, and I think he's doing a great job.
It's F1's 25th visit to the Alps, but we could be saying Auf Wiedersehen to the Austrian Grand Prix. Built on the site of the ultra-fast Österreich-Ring, the slippery circuit has changed a lot, but still provides plenty of action in final qualifying. Verstappen suffered a broken gearbox at turn 1. The low grip surface caught Alonso out. Villeneuve drove too aggressively and paid for it, while DC couldn't get to grips with his car. Villeneuve's excursion reduced grip even further for Mark Webber. And even Michael Schumacher got caught out at turn 2. McLaren couldn't believe their luck. Surely pole belonged to Raikkonen. But this is Michael Schumacher in command of the F2003 GA, demonstrating just why he's the best. And securing his 54th career pole, ahead of Kimi and Montoya. The tranquil Styrian Mountains may be the birthplace of Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it is 20 Formula 1 cars that provide the heavyweight action on Sunday afternoon. The race hasn't even started and there's drama already. McLaren opt to fix Raikkonen's car on the grid instead of changing his engine and making him start from the pit lane like Mark Webber and Fernando Alonso. After 2 false starts due to D'Amata's faulty launch control, it's 3rd time lucky and they're away. Montoya's fast and still 2nd from Raikkonen. Kimi's in danger of losing 3rd to Barrichello, while Trulli is side by side with Heidfeld. There are no problems into the Castrol curve, so Alonso and Webber are given the all-clear. Schumacher stretches his lead at the front, while Trulli, Heidfeld and Pitsonia fight over 5th. Button joins in the scrap, but it's Heidfeld who takes control. Schumacher and Montoya start to pull away from Kimi, whilst Pitsonia shows he can overtake and muscles past Trulli for 6th. Launch control hasn't got Verstappen very far. The safety car comes out and the stricken Minardi is quickly retrieved from the pit straight. Montoya is always good on a restart and Michael knows it. He wants to get the best chance, but Juan Pablo is not impressed. Team orders are banned this year, but it doesn't look like Michael will need them. Jaguar's gamble with strategy did not pay off. The team refueled Webber before the second formation lap. As the first two starts were annulled, they broke Parc Fermé rules, resulting in a 10-second stop-go penalty. Barrichello changes his worn Bridgestones for more worn Bridgestones. But there's a problem with his fuel rig. The mechanics have had to use the spare. Ferrari get back into action. They know their number one is due to stop shortly. The team have collected their thoughts and keep their fingers crossed that this rig does not fail. Failing isn't a problem, but fire certainly is. Droplets of fuel make contact with the engine cover and ignite. There's no panic. The mechanics reach for the fire extinguishers and douse the flames. Only time will tell if he has enough fuel on board. Michael's away with a quick wipe of the visor, leaving the mechanics to clean up. The barbecue takes away his advantage, but he's hot on the heels of Kimi in no time at all. Michael uses his engine's brawn to make the move. While Williams' changing fortunes just isn't meant to be. A water leak terminates Juan Pablo's chance of victory. Mario Tyson of BMW awaits the debrief, while Montoya crawls back to the garage. Alonso's heavy one-stop strategy made passing difficult in the early stages, but he's made his way up to 5th behind Button from the back of the field. Pitsonia gets a chance to prove his credentials, forcing 9th-placed Fisichella on the defensive. Giancarlo comes back at him, but Antonio does not back off. Pitsonia looks to be on course for a points finish at last. But a 100% race reliability record is ruined for Alonso when the spare car lets him down. His second engine failure leaves him in a spin down at turn 1. The oil left from the Renault and moisture from an earlier shower catch out Schumacher. A ray of hope for everyone else. Despite Montoya's problem, Ralph has recovered lost ground even after several mistakes. But his third set of tyres are graining badly and he's struggling with the balance of the car, allowing Button and Coulthard to power through. After getting a taste for overtaking, Pitsonia fancies his chances with another Italian. A fuel system problem leaves Fisichella wondering just when things will go right. Rubens has battled a cold all weekend, and now he's fighting to outdo Kimi for second. Even with an ailing engine, Raikkonen shows his championship might. Through rain, oil and flames, Michael Schumacher still comes out on top. 3 wins in the last 3 races. Surely win number 67 is one of his most extraordinary. Ralph kept it on the track till the end, ensuring he's the only man to finish every race in the points this season. Jenson Button narrowly missed out on a podium to take 4th, equalling his career best. Full marks for Michael edge him closer to Kimi in the championship with a 4-way battle for 3rd. McLaren are only a point behind Ferrari, while Williams and Renault go head-to-head. But what about that pit stop?
Oh, well, I don't think there's much to say. Everything has been shown on TV, I guess, and I guess the mechanics felt I was a little bit too cold and cool and wanted to warm me up.
The cool glamour show that is Monaco is always in vogue. But like fashion, circuits change as well. Reclaiming land from the famous harbour has completed phase 1 of the major development of the track and facilities. The tight left-hander into La Rascasse has caught out many drivers over the years. And the aftermath is often just as chaotic as the incidents themselves. To appreciate the main changes, follow Juan Pablo Montoya's pole position lap from last year at the bottom of the screen and his P3 lap from this year at the top. We start from the exits of the Nouvelle chicane and head down towards Tabac. The exit of La Piscine has been opened out and the barriers removed. The entry into La Rascasse has been straightened, allowing for greater commitment from the drivers. This results in a lap being roughly 2 seconds quicker than before. But it wasn't the new parts of the circuit that brought out the red flags on Saturday. Jenson Button had a horrifying crash on the fastest part of the track. He touched the barrier under braking on the exit of the tunnel, leaving him powerless to stop this tremendous impact. The main priority was to assess Jenson's condition. As ever, Professor Sid Watkins was one of the first people on the scene.
He bruised his right leg and he's under observation in the hospital till this evening, and then they're going to release him, I think, if nothing develops, and we'll see what he's like tomorrow.
It's a beautiful day at the most famous street circuit in the world. Jenson doesn't make the race, but as always, the paddock is awash with celebrities. Schumacher's on pole, but it's Ralph rather than Michael. A poor showing from Ferrari on Saturday fueled speculation that Michael has lost his form. He needs to discard Trulli straight away, but it could be difficult with Renault's rocket-powered starts. Time to forget fashion and celebrities. For this afternoon, it's all about the racing. Ralph is clean away, but Raikkonen is slow off the dirty side of the track. The quick-starting Montoya makes second place his own, and Trulli fancies his chances. Alonso gets the jump on Coulthard and Barrichello. Even Michael has to watch his mirrors. But things are going far from swimmingly for Heinz-Harald Frentzen. He hit the curb on the exit of Piscine, bringing out the safety car. The fuel saved here could be crucial. On the restart, Ralph ups the tempo immediately, but Montoya does his best to stop him getting too far ahead. Michael finds himself staring into Trulli's rear wing and having to keep an eye on Alonso behind. Michelin clearly have the upper hand, leaving Bridgestone and Ferrari scratching their heads. Montoya is really hustling Ralph's mirrors, while Ralph seems to be struggling with grip and has lost the calm demeanour he showed in the opening laps. The crawl to the pits is excruciating. Ralph takes on new tyres and fuel, while Montoya finds a sense of equilibrium and is absolutely flying. Juan Pablo pits, but Kimi is stuck in traffic, dashing his hopes of springboarding the Williams. Montoya's pace before his stop ensures that he rejoins ahead of his teammate. With Raikkonen in the pits, Jarno Trulli gets the chance to lead the race. When Trulli's stop leaves Michael at the front, there are a few worried faces. A heavier fuel load could explain the lack of pace on Saturday. Perhaps the world champion is one stopping. Lap 31 and Michael finally comes into the pits. The flames of Austria are but a distant memory. Will everything run to plan today? So far, it's running like clockwork. And the result is even better. He rejoins third ahead of his brother. Pole position seems to be an unlucky place to be if you drive for Williams. Just ask his teammate. Ralph is struggling in his middle stint. Things don't get better at his next stop. There's a slight delay with his right front wheel. Memories of Enrique Bernoldi's arrows in 2001 have come back to haunt Coulthard in the form of Jarno Trulli. It will take something special to pass. Ralph's fortunes have really taken a U-turn. A lock-up at La Rascasse needs a three-point turn. The Trulli-Coulthard squabble is in stalemate, so it's down to the mechanics to take matters in hand. Coulthard looks to have it, but Trulli's able to nip out in front of him, narrowly avoiding an accident. DC knows how difficult it is to get ahead on the twisty circuit, so he tries to get a run on the Renault at the pit lane exit. Alonso uses his strategy to full effect. Slick work from the Renault mechanics gets him out ahead of Coulthard and Trulli. After the final round of stops, everything looks settled for the finish. But Williams are worried about a repeat of the failure in Austria and warn Juan Pablo to back off slightly. Montoya obliges, but Raikkonen and Schumacher are not ready to throw in the towel yet, and he ups the ante once again. The top three provide a perfect photo finish. It is the Principality's closest ever, but there is only one winner. Monaco might be the playground of the rich and famous, but today the streets belong to Juan Pablo Montoya. The top four teams share the points amongst themselves, ensuring there are precious few scraps for the rest to pick up. The win is Williams' first in Monaco for 20 years. Not quite as long since Montoya's, but nearly.
I thought that the podium was perhaps prophetic of the of the future. Maybe eventually Michael will step down. We all hope he will soon. But it'd be nice to beat him fair and square before he goes.
Frank Williams has a little more time to beat Ferrari in a straight fight now that the top personnel have extended their contracts until the end of 2006. Barrichello is only guaranteed until the end of 2004, but Michael Schumacher is in for the duration. Friday the 13th saw the collapse of negotiations of another kind. Minardi boss Paul Stoddart withdrew his team support for regulation changes introduced this year. This was due to the failure of a fighting fund to materialise, which was aimed at ensuring the financial stability of the smaller independent teams. The larger manufacturers blamed this breakdown on the lack of stability in the technical regulations, which had increased cost for everyone. They did agree on one thing.
It's not something that really should be talked about in public. What we need to do is to get ourselves together to make sure that there are 10 strong teams competing in the best way possible for Formula 1.
Race day heralds a bright new start for Minardi, now that Bernie Ecclestone has thrown them a lifeline. The crowds and even the odd celebrity are out in force to see if the Minardis can wrestle it out with the McLaren of Kimi Raickkonen. Another qualifying error leaves him starting from the pit lane on a one-stop strategy. Jenson Button is raring to go after his crash in Monaco. He needs all the help he can get from 17th on the grid. At least he's made it to the Canadian Grand Prix, one of the most popular on the calendar. Ralph retains his lead, and Michael tries to beat Montoya into submission, but has to settle for third. Webber's quest for points improves when Rubens makes contact with Alonso. The Ferrari does not pit, but with a damaged front wing, he needs to. Pittonia does himself no favours running into Trulli at the hairpin. He breaks his own front wing and punctures Jarno's tyre. Ralph leads, but Monaco winner Montoya looks well placed to challenge his teammate. But no! He spins in the final turn, dropping 4 places. It will take a true fighter to recover. Barrichello finally pits. The Ferrari mechanics do a fine job to replace his nose cone in less than 15 seconds. He still rejoins right down the order though. Ralph hopes to repeat his 2001 win here, but Michael wants to rack up a 6th victory in Montreal. A traction control problem puts Trulli in a spin, while Juan Pablo finally outbrakes the Renault of Alonso. McLaren really haven't featured in the race today. Coulthard makes a move on D'Amata for 7th. But Cristiano is keeping him honest. Villeneuve slows, aiding Barrichello's progress through the field. Jacques is having another bad day. The circuit named after his father is tough on brakes, and boy does he know it. But the mechanic's work has been in vain. This is the 7th consecutive year he's failed to finish on home turf. Ralph has already made his stop, so Michael pits from P1. Ralph could take the advantage back. But not with Michael behind the wheel. He gets out just ahead of his brother and dominates proceedings from there. McLaren have to change their strategy when Raikkonen suffers a tyre delamination. They only planned for 1 pit stop, but it's a bit earlier than expected. Things are going off the boil for Barrichello. Now his left barge board is making a bid for freedom. That won't help the aerodynamics or endear him to the cars behind. Nick Heidfeld is not impressed by another failure from the Ferrari-derived Petronas engine. Coulthard lost 4th and 5th gears. Once 7th went, it was game over. Michael Schumacher has no such problems, but his brakes have taken a bit of a battering. Patrick Head knows that Montoya could take on the mighty Michael, but only if he can overwhelm Ralph. Raikkonen is looking for a way past Barrichello, who's missing that barge board. While Alonso is right on the back of Montoya. Less than 5 seconds separate the top 4, but the victory goes to Michael Schumacher, taking his total career points to 999. He overcame brake concerns, but once he took the lead from his brother, he took full control of the race. Barrichello recovered well to finish 5th, and Olivier Panis scores his first points of 2003. Michael's defensive drive puts him at the top of the table for the first time this year. Not one of F1's 4 rookie drivers finished in Canada, thanks to a variety of problems. But how do they feel things have gone at the halfway point of the season?
For me, everything's been as expected. You know, things that are hard, and I wouldn't say there's anything that's particularly easy. You've got to work hard in every area.
It's been a difficult year, difficult transition for me to come from Champ Cars to Formula 1, and have to keep trying.
In the actual race, I've been very, very pleased with the pace I've set, and obviously scoring a point in Barcelona was a tremendous result for myself, but also for the team, which is the first point we've scored in the dry all season.
I think things are getting better now, and I'm getting more and more used to the car, learning a lot more every day, and hopefully, you know, the second half of the season will be a lot better.
At the sharp end, 3 points separate Michael Schumacher from Kimi Raikkonen as the championship reaches the halfway stage. Join us next time on Sky Sports F1 HD for the conclusion of the 2003 season.